Yeah. Aw. Such a sweetheart. Mm-hmm. We're gonna find you a home.
Hey everyone, it's Surina. This is going to be my week 7 submission to the YouTube Pagan Challenge. Before I get started, I'm going to give you guys a few updates. I finally got my driver's license last Thursday. There was a lot of mental and mundane and magical preparation for that, and that came just in time for my fiance to go out of town for a week and a half, and he left me the car, so I had the freedom to run my own errands and get myself to and from work. It's been really helpful. I was sick on Monday, and then in the meantime just kind of trying to get chores done because my fiance is not here. I am now responsible for the whole house by myself. It's just been a little time consuming. And then in the intro to this video, you saw the most recent update of my life, which is that I kind of got adopted by a little kitten. He wouldn't leave me alone. I went outside to throw away some recycling, and I thought I heard like a toad croaking in the bushes, and went back inside to get something, turned around, looked outside the screen door, and there's this tiny little fuzzy orange tabby kitten. And I went outside to say hey to him, and then to sort of look around for other stray cats, because I thought there might be more kittens, and he was alone, and sort of followed me inside, so I had to whisk him away to our upstairs bathroom, and I gave him a bath, and I gave him some flea med, and I pulled all the ticks off him. He was covered in ticks, and then today he's getting neutered, and I've got one or two people separately interested in taking him home possibly, and I'm hoping to get that completed by the end of this weekend. So pray for Toad. That's the nickname that I gave the kitty. Pray for Toad. He needs a home. Okay, so this week's question for the YouTube Pagan Challenge is about sacred text. So I'm not a very avid reader of what is widely known as sacred text. I know people who read various religious scripts pretty regularly. The ones that I own are basically just a few versions of the Bible. There's a King James Bible, like a big hunking gold gilded thing. And then I have a Catholic Bible, which was important to me because of my heritage and also because there are more books in the Catholic Bible. So I felt like it was just adding sort of more into the scope of knowledge that I could glean from Christianity. And I can't remember what the third Bible is. I'm sure it's just another ordinary Protestant Bible. I also used to own a copy of the Quran, but it's gone missing, probably from various moves, or somebody borrowed it and didn't return it. So I'll have to get another copy of that. I also don't really have any printed versions of like the Wiccan Rede or any sort of like common pagan sacred texts, if you will. I can't say it was very important to me to collect that stuff in the past, but I would like to start accumulating more sacred text into my collection. And of course, it's my responsibility to educate myself on other religions. That is sort of part of my journey. I myself have only read small bits of the Bible. I have a hard time getting through the Old Testament. I think it's a bit dense, and the language is very archaic, and I read it slowly, and oftentimes have to reread it, or else I won't understand what they're saying. That certainly is true for like sort of the King James version, but I mean, if you've ever read Genesis, like any translation of Genesis is just like, we're gonna dump all of this information on you in a very short period of time. It's hard. I just find it really hard to absorb that kind of knowledge. I'm not alone in saying that there are people that I know who know the Bible word for word. You know, they could rattle off any chapter of any book in the Bible off the top of their head. That is a tremendous amount of self-discipline in terms of study. I'm a little envious at times because I don't think I know too many things committed to memory quite the way that they do. And there are a good few things that I wish I could commit to memory that way. Now, my opinion on sort of the sacred texts as they are is that they are important. simply because they have cultural impact, but they are also written by human beings, and, you know, any sort of written account of someone's spirituality is going to be colored by their perspective of the world. It's really hard to remain totally objective when it comes to spirituality because faith is so personal. So pretty much any text written by one person is going to be their account. I guess that's kind of why I was so drawn to paganism and witchcraft in particular, because the record-keeping aspect of it, like where certain witches have what is called a book of shadows, and they create, in essence, their own Bible. It's based on their own experiences, and that is the point. It's to build your spirituality from a very first-person perspective. Because I'm a word nerd and a writer, I kind of consider all text to be sacred. The written word is pretty powerful. Every book that I own in my library is therefore a sacred text to me. Everything I read influences me spiritually. I think we tend to place higher importance on things that are ancient in terms of their religious legitimacy. But most of the things that have shaped me spiritually have been modern, and some of them weren't even books, you know, they were video games or films or plays or music, you know, lyrics and just instrumental music, pretty much anything. Those are all sort of the product of how the divine manifests itself in human beings, in my mind. So it's all part of the divine. I suppose I should maybe like touch a little bit on fundamentalism, but you know, it's all sort of the same thing that you've heard before about how fundamentalism is restrictive and how it sort of stops the dialogue. I mean, I feel like the subject has been covered again and again in terms of things like the Abrahamic religions, but you know, it could happen with any sort of thing. Like if you're making any one thing, be it book or folktale or scientific theory or anything, if you're just refusing to learn further than the place where you're comfortable, that really is sort of like stopping your personal evolution. So I personally just try to keep aware of having a belief system that is restrictive and doesn't allow for a desire to learn more. So, you know, I'm wary of making any one thing the basis of my life, spiritual or otherwise. My personal theory has always been that there is so much information in the world, like what each individual person knows. Basically, truth is looking out of the eyes of every single person on the earth at the same time. And I couldn't possibly know everything. There's too much to know, so I better learn what I can. And I always assume that there's more. So that's just sort of a personal motto of mine. So yeah, them's my thoughts on sacred text, how they've influenced me, how I define them. I gotta think of a blessing for you guys this week. I'm trying to do that now at the end of every video. I want to make like a blessing for you guys until I see you again. And this one I think should be, I hope that when you go to the store, you find exactly what you're looking for. Because that happens to me, you know. I go to the store and they're like sold out of what I came there to get. For shame. So I hope that helps you, and I will see you next time. Many blessings, everybody. Peace.